Oh, that looks good. That was fun. I'm gonna make this kimono jacket out of gorgeous natural linen. Grab the pattern, it's in the description below. Come along and see how easy it is for you to make your own kimono jacket just like this. It is 100% linen. It is very luxurious with that earthy linen patina that only linen can give you. It's a fantastic fabric. Let's go and see more about the fabric. For this short jacket, I'm going to be using linen. This is linen. This is a linen yukata I made. That is a linen yukata I made as well. I am a fabric nerd, and one thing I love is linen. Why do I love linen so much? It is old as the hills. The Egyptians were wearing it. It's got so many interesting characteristics. It has a moisture wicking property. So what it does is it actually absorbs 20% of its weight in moisture and then dries really quickly, which means it draws the moisture from your skin in a hot condition. It goes into the linen and then dries really, really fast, making you feel cooler. That's why you can make a great summer kimono jacket, really nice little casual piece. You can buy this sample and all my other samples on my website. The link is in the description below. There is only one of this linen kimono jacket and it's available now at my website, linked in the description. It's got a really strong fiber, so linen is far stronger than cotton, becomes a lot stronger when it's wet as well, so that's always good also. Because the fibers that are used to make the yarns, which are then woven into the fabric, because they're so long, it means that linen has a sheen to it. So you often see linen, can you see that? Oh yeah, see that sheen there, down there. This is freshly pressed, of course, as well. It has a lovely sheen to it that only linen has. It's different to silk in a way because it's still got that earthiness to it. But it is a completely beautiful fabric. I use it all the time, as you can see. If I'm not using cotton lawn, I'm probably using linen for making things for myself because it is very comfortable. I live in the tropics. It is the monsoon season right now where I live, and I definitely need as much linen as I can get because it is hot and wet all the time. Every day here, there's no let up, and it's fantastic, especially when you've got linen. So what I've done is I've washed this so it shrinks, because linen does shrink, it moves in and out. It's an amorphous being when you're working with linen. It's also fantastic to sew with. This is a dream to sew with. If you press it with your finger, it will fall flat, and if you press it with an iron, it will stay flat as well. The one thing about linen is that it creases. So in the time of me talking to you now, you can already see there are creases. That is also the pointer that you're wearing linen. Linen is expensive, thus it looks luxurious. So when you see someone wearing linen, you know that they're wearing something of quality, and it also helps everyone else feel a bit cooler because they know that you're wearing something quite cool. That's sort of a Japanese concept of vicarious comfort, I suppose. But it definitely helps with linen. It does crinkle straight away, but it is so comfortable and so lovely that it doesn't matter. I really can't wait to make this. Grab your pattern, it's in the description. Let's go and have a look at how we cut the pattern. This is pure linen. It is 60 inches wide or 150 centimeters, and I only need 1 meter, which is around a yard of fabric. First thing we do is we take 6 inches or 15 centimeters off the top. So I have my whole meter here and I folded it in half. And before we start folding the halves in halves, we take off the top of the fabric, lop off the head, 15 centimeters, 6 inches, and that's going to be used to make the collar that goes round the top. So do that first, then we start folding in. It gets very simple, very quick. 15 centimeters, which is 6 inches. I mark a couple of times across here, my lovely red chalk. Make a big stripe across, and I can just cut straight across there. Oh, I love the way linen sounds with the scissors. Ooh. That is a lovely crunch. So I take this, you can see this is so it was folded in quarters, and that's how I cut it, just to make the cutting easier, because there's no pattern on this, so it doesn't matter. This is what makes using this pattern with 60-inch or 150 centimeter wide cloth so simple. It's because it just folds directly into quarters And that's how we divide up the pattern. They're all giant rectangles, this big. 2 of them will be sleeves, 2 of them will be body pieces. So it's a really simple pattern to do. And before you go cutting, stay tuned, because we don't cut the body in half. You can, but you don't have to, and it just means less sewing for you. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is take the whole piece. These are my selvages on the sides here. Bring the selvages together. I'm going to iron straight down there. There's already actually the pressing from before, but I'm just going to make sure that it's nice and even with my selvages. Lining up your selvages. I'm constantly pressing the whole piece because linen crinkles just with handling. When you touch it, it will wrinkle. That is what linen does, but that's okay. We put up with that for everything else linen gives us. But the main point here is getting this line up the top. So making this really nice sharp line there, so that we can then divide the fabric further into quarters. So that's all wonderful. You can see there's the crispest line you've ever seen down the center. Now what I want to do is find a half of each of these halves, which is very easy because all I need to do is bring the selvage over to that new pressed line, which is the center. And what I'm now trying to find is this line here. So I'm going to press that in on either side as well. It doesn't have to be the best pressing you've ever done. It doesn't actually even need to be the most even that you've ever done. This is a very easy pattern to make, and you can do it a bit loosey-goosey. If your fabric's moving about, if you're using a knit or a stretch, and it's all warping and moving around, it's okay. We've got big rectangles that are just getting sewn together with straight seams. You can be quite laissez-faire when it comes to your cutting and it comes to your accuracy. That is the best part of this pattern. It means that you can relax a little bit. We're not putting in curved armholes and scythes and darts and things like that. It is straight cut and straight sewn. So it makes it really nice and simple when it comes to this, and especially if you're using something that really does move around with handling, like a knit or a slippery polyester. You just cut where you can. Your kimono jacket will still look fantastic. So I've done one, I'm just bringing the other one in to just gently kiss that other side, just a little bit, just a peck, and that helps work out exactly where that is. Again, you can be a bit laissez-faire with this. If it's a bit off in places, don't worry. Especially if you're making this in linen. Linen is supposed to be a bit crinkly and funky, isn't it? It's what it's about. You're in Tuscany, you're on holiday, everything's fabulous, and so is your sewing. You see, I've got my 4 quarters. Can you see? Yeah, you can. I might turn around this way actually, because that's where all the pressing is. So now I have lines to cut. And like I said before, don't go off and just cut this straight away. Listen to this part. So we cut off this quarter and this quarter. So what you want to end up with is the center square. Don't cut this first line. You can if you want, and you'll have a center back seam. It just means more sewing for you. It doesn't really change the pattern that much. It doesn't change many things. It just means you have to do a little bit more. And you might love a center back seam. Center back seams can be beautiful, and it would be on this with this fabric, but I want to do less sewing, so I'm not going to. I'm going to cut from the selvage. I'm going to cut this first quarter. So I'm going to go away and do that now. Now, in the pattern, it says to cut. If you're using these exact measurements, you have 1 meter of fabric and it is 150 centimeters wide, which is 39.5 inches of fabric that is 60 inches wide. If you have exactly that, then you cut. But out of that first piece that we cut, you cut 110 centimeters or 43 inches. If you are using any variation, even if it's a centimeter, on the measurements that are in the pattern, or that I'm using today, you have to remeasure for your collar, because your collar goes around the front. I'll show you how to get around this, where you just cut an extra long collar and you fold it all up at the end, and you can put it onto any length, but you always need more than you need less. So always make sure you have a little more, and we can always tack it back up underneath. That's easily done. Once again, I'm going to show you how to a longer collar, and then you can tuck it all up at the end and it will look absolutely stunning anyway, with a tiny bit of hand sewing or top stitching. Here I have the body piece. So it's got that nice crease down the back, and if you're using a different fabric, you might have two pieces for this because that's how we cut it. That's fine. Whatever you have as your body pieces, we're now finding the shoulder line. This is so important. So this is just about folding it in half. We folded everything in half that way before. Now what we need to do is open this up and fold it in half the other way. And what we're going to end up with is a cross in the middle. So you can see here, we've got, see if I can get that to show up. There we go. See that fold line there? We're going to find the center of that fold line in the middle. So your shoulder line comes all the way along from the cuff up. It meets where the body meets the sleeve and then travels up into the neckline. It's really great to find this, to have it, to continue to press it back into your fabric, because it's how you line up your sleeve with your body. It's really useful. It's also really helpful when it comes to folding the garment. This is based on a kimono or a yukata, like the one I'm wearing now. When you fold these, you use this shoulder line to fold the entire garment, and it means that you never have to press it. So it keeps all the pieces nice and flat, and having that crease is part of having a Japanese garment. It shows that you're taking care of it the right way. I have one here, but I've got checks running everywhere, so I can't show you. But they're fantastic. In a traditional Japanese garment, this is called the katayama and sodayama. It runs along this line, which is called the yuki. That denotes the length. But this is the katayama, this is the sodayama. Katayama means shoulder mountain, and sodayama means sleeve mountain, and it literally means the sort of peak at the top that runs down them like a chain of mountains. Fantastic terminology. It's really cool. It explains what it does, but it's really important. It's a pivotal part of traditional Japanese garment making. That's why it's made it into this garment, because this is based on traditional Japanese garments, as we'll see later when we start dealing with the underarms. So that's where that comes from. That's why I talk about it, and it's why it's important. And all you have to do is fold your fabric end to end and find that center point. And if you get into the habit of just continually reiterating, I say reiterating, you keep putting this back into the fabric, this little crease up the top. You get used to it. It becomes part of what you do when you're sewing. And it makes sewing these garments easier because you've always got that center point to work from. So what you should end up with, if you're using the wider fabric, your cloth should look like that. You see I've got a new line, and then I've got my center line running down the center there. So there should be a cross. That is where the neckline is going to be cut from. So I'm going to fold that back up and put that to the side. Now that's all crisp and lovely. And we do exactly the same with the sleeves. So I take the sleeve. If you're using narrower fabric, so fabric that's say 43 inches, 44 inches wide, this is what your body pieces will look like. And this is exactly what you do with your body pieces as well. I fold them end to end and I press in this case, what would be called the sodayama. Isn't that just a charming way to describe that? And if you think of Mount Fuji, the little triangular mountain there, that's exactly what we're talking about. When this is put to the body, you've got your seam down here on your arm. This runs up from your cuff to your shoulder, up your shoulder and into your neck. And it just helps you navigate your garment as you construct it. That's the point of it. Fantastic. Right, I'm going to cut the neck hole now. If you have narrow fabric, the first thing you need to do is sew your center back seam. So here is the body piece. If you have a center back seam, you would have sewn this big line up here by now. I am doing the wider fabric, so my fabric is already together. What I'm going to do is pick that up and I'm gonna lay it out this way. They should be even, so unless you have a pattern, you can choose which is the back and which is the front. I'm gonna choose this to be the front, and we've just pressed in that beautiful crease along the shoulders, so the katayama, that there. That's what we're going to use as our geography to work out where we are. We want to be in the center and working on the neckline. So what I'm cutting basically is into here and down here until I get to the end of the fabric. It's really very simple. There are templates in the pattern, but you can just do this by measuring very, very easily. What we do is we find this center point. So you can see here, I've got my fold. Do you see that? There's the all four corners meet there. And I'm just bringing that across. Why I'm doing this on the fold is because it's exactly the same on either side. It means you have to measure once and you cut once. So you're not doing it on both sides. I'm measuring 10 centimeters, which is 4 inches. Like that, straight across, and I mark that in. Lovely. And then I mark 5 centimeters, which is 2 inches down the back. So I've gone 2 inches down and 4 inches across. And here we have our 2 points. Now, what we want to do is create a curve around there. And you can use all different things to do this. One great way, if you have nothing else, which I'll carry on as if I have nothing else here. So what I want to do is square this off so I can then curve into it. The best way to do that is, again, find your 4 inches, 10 centimeters this way, and then 2 inches or 5 centimeters that way. And you're squaring off so you know where this point is. Make a little box. What you want to do is curve up to round to make a neckline. I usually use the bottom of a cup. I've got a little ramekin here that I use to put my tea bags on. Something circular, and you place it on there and you just run your chalk around. And you see that you've made a beautiful curve. And then here you level it off. You make this nice and straight as it comes into this line, because if you come up, it's going to make a point that goes up. If you go down, it's going to make a divot that goes down, a chevron like that. So you want to make sure it's dead straight on this line here, but then you want to start curving it as you come in and down to there. If you don't have something circular in your house, I don't know what you're doing. You can use the bottom of a shampoo bottle, a drink bottle, anything will do this. Here's my drink bottle as well. I can sit that there, and you're just trying to get a curve. It will make a beautiful curve, and it will do it absolutely wonderfully. But that's the easiest way to do that. You can also do it by eye. I usually do it by eye, but I'm showing you how you would do it if you're not as confident doing it by eye. Now what I'm going to do is come down and mark that 10 centimeter, 4 inches, all the way down the front of the jacket. And we're creating the center front opening. So this is on the part on which we will place the collar. Now I'm going to join them all up with my meter rule and make a lovely, nice, big straight line. This is how it should look. Now I'm going to unfold it as well, but I'll fold it back up. So do you see what we've done? There's the neckline, and if you drew it on both sides, it would come down here, but we're going to cut through this one and cut through that one at the exact same time. So it's completely straight down the front. So there you go. You have your 2 shoulders, there's your center back, and here's the front of your garment. And we're going to attach the collar to this in a minute. There are other things we have to do before we do that, but that is how it should look. Absolutely fantastic, very simple. Now that you have your neckline cut, just like that, what we're going to talk about now is raw edge management. Now, that is about this. So there's your side seams down here. We're doing it down here, and on the sleeves. Here's a sleeve. You're doing it down that side as well. You're doing it to these 2 sides on the body and these 2 sides on the sleeves. The 2 sides that are going to meet. The reason we do that, it's explained in the pattern, but it's for the Miyatsuguchi. So that is an opening under the arm that is used on feminine kimono, and it's so the hand can get into the kimono and tie up all the ties and shuffle all the undergarments as you're dressing in the kimono. What else it helps with is the length of the sleeve and letting the sleeve hang beautifully. So because we've got quite long sleeves, it makes it just easier for the sleeve to hang down nicely and gives an ease to the garment, lets it look a little more fluid and a little less stuck in. Because of that, we need to press the side seam. So the side seam and the seam where the sleeve and the body meet, they need to be pressed open once done. So what I do, I say it in the pattern, is we turn the edges, which means I just turn them once and turn them twice. So you end up with edges like that. What it's about is treating the raw edges of the seam before we sew the seam, because the seam is pressed open. So once the seam is sewn, you can't then go in and then overlock it because it's to both sides. There you go. Gosh, this is transparent. It's absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? There is the side that you will see. It'll be turned back like that within the garment. And then this is the body. But that's how the top looks at the moment. And you can see it falls to just sort of beyond the empire line, and it will fall at about the empire line once we turn up the hems and things like that. But I've also turned that side seam. We're going to mark the body and the sleeves. On the body, I'm doing 25 centimeters, 10 inches from the shoulder down the side, and I'm doing it down the same on this side. That is where the sleeves will meet, and the sleeves are marked exactly the same. On the body, you also add 7 centimeters or around 3 inches for Miyatsuguchi, and that carries on. So this is where the sleeve comes to, and then this part is the side seam. So you can see you've got a rather short little side seam there, but that is so we have this opening which keeps the whole garment lovely and fluid. I'm now going to prepare the body so we can attach the collar. Now, it might seem a bit back to front doing it this way, and you can do it another way if you feel like it. You can put your sleeves on, get your hems sewn up, then attach a collar. But it means that you're just dealing with, one, more fabric. You'll have sleeves on it, and two, you'll be dealing with a 3D garment. You'll have side seams. It will be all one thing rather than this. We've got a nice big flat piece of fabric that we can run our collar up along. You can see here I've got the front of the garment, and this is the inside of the garment. I'm not sewing this or anything. What I'm doing is turning this back like so, and I'll measure it properly. I'm going to pin that in place so then I can put the collar on. What we're doing is we're going up by 1 centimeter and then by 3 centimeters, which is ½ an inch, and then 1¼ inch. We're just raising it by that much and then pinning that in place. So I'm going to go up by 3 centimeters. But as I said before, I will show you how to cut your collar so you can maneuver around how long the front of your garment is, and it doesn't have to be as exact. And that's all I do. So you see this is all just sitting loose there. This is so we can attach the collar to this. We don't sew this, we don't do anything more. We just get that ready so we can do this. It's time to prepare the collar. If you don't know exactly how long your neckline is going to be, just keep it as long as possible, and we can always fold it up underneath at the end. So I'll talk about that throughout, but what we're doing now is preparing the collar. This is probably the most important part. This is where you want to have accuracy and precision, and you want to get things right now so things go smoothly later. What we want to do is press this directly in half. The way that you attach the collar is that you put it on and you have to sew through one side to the other without seeing it. So you want to know that everything is going to be where it's supposed to be without being able to see it as you sew it. The way that we do that, and the way that we know that it's going to do that properly, is by getting this part right, by pressing it properly. And it all comes down to your iron and pressing this the right way and doing it nice and correctly. We fold the entire piece in half. You'll notice that this pattern is basically cut this and then fold it in half, and that again comes from Japanese kimono making. That is what they do in Japan. It's all very logical, it's all very easy, and it's all very transferable. So you can change this and make, if this was twice as wide, you're still folding it in half and then doing the next step. It's a great way to sew. It's fantastic for beginners as well, because you're not dealing with lots of different lines and lining them all up, printing out loads of paper to make your patterns. You're just getting in, folding and cutting and sewing. It's really great. There we have it. So I've got a lovely center line all the way down there. Press up one side first, and we're going to go up by around a centimeter, which is ½ an inch. This is where you get some real precision. You want the collar to face you like this. So I've got my folded seam allowance there, that's on the inside. And what I'm going to do is press this over here. So you see we've got that lovely halfway point already there. And we're going to press it like this over the top of it. I'm going to finger press it first into place. You're wrapping it around like that, so you're making an envelope. And there we have it. So you see it's still enveloped a bit there. And then you bring it out like so, and it'll fall into place and make a really even match to your first seam allowance. If you're following the pattern, it says now to bring this together and sew down to your seam allowances. So you sew from this peak down to the seam allowances. And if you have this perfectly measured for your jacket, go ahead and do that. If not, if you've cut this a bit longer because you don't really know what the measurement of your neckline on your jacket is, then leave that be, and I'll show you what we do at the end. Last thing to do is to fold this directly in half, and you can mark this with chalk or thread, or you can just put a lovely big crease in there with your iron. You just need to know where that point is because we're about to pin it to the jacket. But let's go put this collar on. So I'm going to pin this around with about a 1 centimeter, ½ inch seam allowance all the way around here. And just manipulating this, moving this around and making sure that we handle this curve. Everything else will be fine because we've got a lovely straight line. So you basically lay your seam allowance in the seam allowance, sandwich it in like that, and pin it down. But the first part is just getting this curve to go around nicely, and you are just double checking and pinning. I'm just going to do an edge stitch all the way along, and I should be catching the other side as I go. There we have the collar attached. Now you see I've left this part beyond where the hem is. All we're doing is clipping this back, fold it up into here so we can make it level with that line. And then it's just a matter of manipulating that to the point where it sits nice and flush and flat like that. And then because we have top stitching down here, it's fine to carry on some top stitching, come along and finish it off along there. And you end up with a little corner like this. Now we've just got a couple of sleeves to attach to a couple of side seams. And you see that I've just lined these up, made sure they're nice and straight, and I've got it all pinned in place, shoulder, two ends. I'm going to do some nice big stitches there and run the sewing machine just straight down there. You can see here a lovely big seam allowance and a lot of stitches just there. There should be like almost a knot of stitches, and it goes all the way to the other end, and the same again. This is what I love. I love huge seam allowances like this. So that is, both sleeves are attached, and now I'm going to press them and press the seams open. See, like this. Oh, isn't that just beautiful? Big open sleeve, and from the outside, because this is a lovely light linen, these huge seams, you can see them, and that is the point. You're supposed to. They're part of what makes this so beautiful. There's that big beautiful sleeve to body seam, and I've put in the creases again after sewing that all together and pressing it. You can see I've pressed the side seams back and sleeve seams, but I've also then put in the top, the katayama and sotoyama, and that again helps us because it helps us find the exact midway point when we come to putting the sleeve together, and it helps us find the exact midway point for this next step, which is to close the jacket, essentially, we are now sewing the side seams shut. So you bring the two ends of your jacket, the front and the back, together. And remember, we made a mark for the Miyatsuguchi. This is now the formation of the Miyatsuguchi. So we bring the side seams together to those little red marks there, and you see that this is where the side seam ends, and it's open until we get to the sleeves, which is up here. And this is called Miyatsuguchi. So I'm going to pin that in place, and your hem should meet up, which mine does, which is fantastic because we measured properly and we're just using the halves of the fabric. So there wasn't a lot of meticulous measuring, but it all works out because we're just folding things in half. And so I'm going to again start with a lot of stitches in there. Boom, 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 boom. Lots of back stitches to really secure this, because this is a high use, high stress part of the garment. Here is our side seam all done and dusted. Now it comes time to close the sleeves. And what we're going to do is close the bottom and the side, obviously leaving a cuff to be opened, which we'll just double turn back. That's really simple there. You're just turning back the cuff and sewing that down. We're closing the bottom here. Now I often do this with a French seam, so I do it wrong sides together, whip up there, then right sides together, whip down again. And it keeps all this quite neat because you'll be able to see this part of it from the outside because the back is open. And in the back of the sleeve, so the part closest to the body, just down there, that has already been trained to sit back with the process of pressing these seams open. And all we're going to do is, I usually do an edge stitch. Once this is all put together, and it will be a loop like this, and I just edge stitch along here with a really big stitch, just holding this back, because it's not functional, there's no stress on it, it's a really easy part. If you want, you can just hand stitch and do it so it's an invisible stitch underneath. I usually just, because I've got top stitching on other parts of this, I don't mind doing a bit of top stitching back here. And it's for underneath here, so it's really good to do that. I've just pressed up the hem before I then sew it. And I'll just show you really quickly here. So I've turned it up by 1 centimeter, so ½ an inch, and then by 3 centimeters, which is 1 1/4 inches. So it's 4 centimeters all up and 1 3/4 inch all up that I took off the bottom there. Now all I'm going to do is run an edge stitch all the way along that. And there we have it. Absolutely. Look how light this is. Do you see that? Oh, that is wonderful. And I put my hand behind it. I need to get the light behind it. Yeah, look at that. So it's completely transparent. It is as light as a breath of air, this. It is just wonderful. That Miyatsuguchi really helps the sleeve hold its own form. Also, you can thread a belt through it. So you can make a little belt, or if you have one, and you can put a sash through it and just hold the front of the garment to the body and let the back sit loose. It's a really great way of using these garments and using garments with Miyatsuguchi to make that mid-century line. Hold it down on your front, but let it hang loose at the back. It's a really chic way of wearing a garment. I'm holding it up on this coat hanger just so you can see the full sort of picture of it. You can see how square it is, how simple this pattern is. This is why it's so gorgeous. And this is only 1 meter of fabric. So I'm going to put this onto the mannequin and we'll have a look at it. There she is. Doesn't she look incredible? This is just so beautiful, and it's the linen that really elevates this fabric. So I've used a satin brocade. You can see it here. I've used plain black cotton. I've used that here. This is now elevating it. So we've gone satin, we've gone plain, and now you've got that sort of vacation by the sea look, really. This is what you would wear if you're on the Cape, if you're on the Med. In the afternoon, after the beach, you throw this on the top and you wander around town. It's just stunning. It really is a beautiful, chic little addition to the wardrobe. That was very simple to make, and the fact that it only takes 1 meter of fabric and you use nearly all of it, it's really great. There's very little waste, and the waist is square, so it's very easy to use. As you'll see in this video, I show you how to make a sash and how we tie that through and get that beautiful mid-century line by just tying it at the front and letting the back fall flat down like that. It's really cool. In this video, I show you how to make the bow and how to tie that down to the closure point and then move it across. But here I'm showing you that this is fine as just the last layer in your ensemble, the thing that you throw on before you go to a market on the weekend or something like that. It's just that little accent that you put at the top. So it's a really casual, beautiful little garment, but it can be elevated, obviously, with gorgeous jewelry or on top of a beautiful dress. Imagine you're in the tropics and you're going out to dinner that night. This is something to put over your shoulders as you wander down those forest paths. It's a very versatile jacket. It's very versatile in this fabric as well, but you can see in all the other videos how you can really change the entire garment just by changing your fabric, and you make it a completely different outfit with just doing that. The thing that I love the most about this jacket, one obviously, is these gorgeous, look at that, kimono sleeves. You see how lovely they are in the linen as well, the way it shivers. But the other thing I love is this silhouette. So when we come down the back here and it just falls in that mid-century line, especially with the kimono collar. So kimono in Japan on a woman are worn the collar back, and you wear the collar like that. It's so beautiful. It influenced everyone in the 20th century, and especially in mid-century haute couture. People like Cristobal Balenciaga and Christian Dior were enamored with this. It's so chic and so beautiful just to have that line that falls down there. And this is what we do in this video, where we use the sash to then secure the front but let the back fall back. I think it's a fantastic thing to do, especially with big square cut jackets like this that aren't tailored to the body. You can buy this sample and all my other samples on my website. The link is in the description below. There is only one of this linen kimono jacket, and it's available now at my website, linked in the description. It's very simple. It can be extremely inexpensive to make, and it's a fantastic addition to your wardrobe. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I really hope that you've made one and that you show me what you've made. Send me what you've made. Tell me what fabrics you've made it out of and how you went with it. It's a really great pattern and very versatile, so you can change it up, obviously to fit different sizes, but to make different lengths, especially of your sleeves and your hems. You can really drop them down or bring them up. You could make sleeves as long as this yukata here. So these are 75 centimeters, which is about 35.5 inches long. You can put that onto this as well, and that would look absolutely stunning. The longer the sleeves, the more beautiful, that's for sure. But have fun with it. Grab the pattern, it's in the description below. Go and try it out, see what you can do with this pattern. It really is quite versatile. I'm Kimono Alex. This is House of Kimono. Follow me for everything about kimono.